Last week, we posted a video covering a lot of the problematic things that Sai Deepak said in his podcast with ANA Jayaprakash. This video is a continuation of that. In this video, we'll cover some of the things that were not covered in the first video, and if you have not seen the first video, I recommend you to watch it. This is Youturn. I'm Ramasamy Jayaprakash. In this video, we'll cover 3 problematic things that Sai Deepak said. The first one is his view about the Dravidian movement and Periyar. And the second one is Tamils saying they are different, they are unique, is a missionary idea. Only because of the missionaries, Tamils feel this way. And the third point is Sai Deepak feels that Tamil Nadu should join the Indian mainstream and why it is wrong. These are the 3 things that we are going to see. Let's focus on that one by one. The first one is his view about Periyar and the Dravidian movement. Sai Deepak feels that Periyar is someone who is actually a white man, but he feels himself to be an African American. And he also says that the founders of the Dravidian movement were all rich and well-to-do, and they were relatively well-positioned in the caste structure, caste ladder. He also tells that many of the ideologies that speak about the egalitarian society and the founders who are making this ideology are landed community, people from landed community and people who are wealthy enough. They are the ones who are talking about egalitarian society, equality, social justice. These are the jargons that are being used by the people who are wealthy, and they use it as a political ideology. But the response is, so what? So what? A person is white but he talks about African American problems. So what if a person is rich but he talks about egalitarian society and equality and social justice? Even with Periyar, he wants to look at his identity and his caste background and social standing. But how does that matter? It should not matter at all. But Sai Deepak wants to focus on all that to discredit what else that person is doing. Whatever the person is doing, that is not important. Now let's get a little more deeper than that. Is it like people who are relatively well positioned in the society and relatively wealthy, were they not facing caste discrimination? This is something that needs to be addressed, because back then, like maybe 100 years ago, how was the scenario? Was it like caste oppression limited to scheduled caste and scheduled tribe people? Is it something that was limited to that category alone? The answer is no. Even if a person is wealthy, even if a person has a better standing in the caste ladder, like relatively well positioned, he is not somebody in the bottom of the caste ladder, but also he is not somebody at the top. Maybe he could be somewhere in the middle. Even that person used to get a lot of caste discrimination done against him. That was the kind of society we lived in. They felt like this is not fair, and they decided that this is something that should be fought against and this is something that should be eradicated. And they started a movement called non-Brahmin movement, because it was the Brahmins who were subjugating the all other community. That was the feeling back then. Starting from the government jobs, back in those days, British government jobs. From British government jobs to even the society, everyday life, that caste oppression was felt by everybody. It was a time where a segregation was made in such a way that this is a Brahmins hotel, only Brahmins are allowed in this hotel, and even in film productions, it was something that was there. Brahmins were allowed to sit in one part of the area and non-Brahmins had to sit in another part of the area. And it continued, like it kept evolving, and once that was questioned, they slightly changed it, like vegetarian versus non-vegetarian. Vegetarians can sit in one area, non-vegetarians can sit in another area, and we see that to this day, many of the toilet boards are clearly mentioned like vegetarians only. That's why they decided like they had to question it. They had to clearly put it out there that it is not acceptable and we don't want such a system. When somebody says that, who is better capable and who is better positioned to do it? A person who is relatively wealthy, a person who is relatively well positioned in the caste ladder, he has more chances of voicing out this opinion than somebody who is poor and somebody who is at the bottom of the caste ladder. It is something very, very simple. For a person to oppose the system, he had to have some kind of backing, and that backing was the money and relatively better social standing. That was it. That's all there is to it. But Sai Deepak wants to find a conspiracy in anything and everything. Although he does not outrightly say that this is a conspiracy, that is what he means. What else could be the reason that he finds this to be problematic? He specifically highlights that point. They were landed community, they were relatively well positioned in the caste ladder. Why should that be a problem? And why use an example to state that a person, he was a white man but he felt himself as an African American man? Although that was an example, why that was said? Because to make a point that he is someone who is privileged but he wants to talk about the unprivileged. For that he uses this example. And this is the kind of mindset he approaches the Dravidian movement. And if anybody approaches with this kind of mindset, anything and everything that is being said, anything that is and everything that was being done in the 100 years of the Dravidian movement will be problematic. There could be problems in it, there could be ups and downs, there could be a lot of bad things that were said or done, and like nothing is perfect. There could be ups and downs in anything. If anybody wants to find fault with the Dravidian movement, please go ahead. But that should be done objectively, and that should be done without any bias and prejudice. But Sai Deepak's view is completely prejudiced in it. It is not something that is done with an open mind. And especially it should be noted that he tries to whitewash everything else, all the problems that was there in the society that led to such a movement. By discounting that, like if you take that part away and focus only on the Dravidian movement, you will not get anything, you will not understand anything. You will only be able to mislead the people and mislead the country by stating that Dravidian movement is something against the people of India. Dravidian movement is something against the unity of India. It is a separatist movement. All these are the things that you could think of, or all these are the things that you would say if you are not being fair and open-minded. Coming to the point about color, he talks about color, right? And it is not we who felt like we are black. Swami Prabhupada, he is the founder of the ISKCON temple, and now it is ISKCON temples are everywhere. Everywhere you look at, there is an ISKCON temple. It is that big. The founder of that ISKCON temple explicitly says that Dravidians are black. And Swami Vivekananda, he says that there are two great races in India, and one is Aryan, the other one is non-Aryan. In the Aryan race, people are Brahmins, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas. These three categories of people belong to the Aryan race, and Shudras fall in the category of non-Aryans. Vivekananda says this. And let's circle back to Swami Prabhupada. He also says that Dravidians are black, and he follows it at a later point by stating that a Shudra is someone who is black. Shudras will be black and Brahmins will be white. He will be fair-skinned and Shudras are dark-skinned. If a Shudra is fair, if a Shudra is white or light-skinned, he is not a true Shudra at all. If a Brahmin is dark-skinned or black, he is not a true Brahmin at all. Swami Prabhupada says this. Apart from Swami Prabhupada and what Swami Vivekananda said, let's go into the religious books and what they say. Manusmriti says that people of Dravida, they are all Shudras because they rejected the Vedic rituals and they are rejecting the Brahmin supremacy. They are not accepting Brahmins. So, for this reason, all the people in Dravida have become Shudras. It is said in Manusmriti. And what are the kinds of rights that Manusmriti gives to the people, especially the Shudra people? It says that Manusmriti explicitly says Shudra has no right to property. If a Shudra has property, the Brahmin can come in at any time and he can take away the property. This is what Manusmriti says. There is no right to property. If I go into detail about what are all is said in Manusmriti about Shudras and how oppressive and how degrading Manusmriti is to the Shudra community, this one episode will not be enough. We have to make a separate video about Manusmriti, what it says about women and what it says about the Shudras. Because that is something that needs to be addressed. People don't know this. Many people feel like this structure, this caste structure of Brahmin, Vaishya, Kshatriya and Shudra, all this Chaturvarna category and the caste system, the jatis, All these are based on employment and occupation. If anybody changes their job, if anybody changes their occupation, the caste system would change, like their particular caste will change. Many people feel that way. Many people think that this is how the caste system was designed. But if you look at what Manusmriti says and what Bhagavad Gita says closely, you will find out that that is not the case. If a Brahmin marries somebody from a different Varna, in that case, the offspring is called a specific name. Similarly, if a Shudra and a Kshatriya get a child, that child will be called a different name. They will not get this moniker of Brahmin, Vaishya, Kshatriya or Shudra. These 4 names does not apply to them. Any mix and match in the 4 Chaturvarnas that are there, and the offspring will get a different name according to that specific mix. This is explicitly mentioned in Manusmriti. And what Manusmriti and Bhagavad Gita says about the occupation is, anybody who's well capable of doing a different job should not do that. He should only do what is assigned to that person. He should only do what the Varna of that person dictates him or her to do. Even if that work is very, very bad, it is a terrible job, like that person is incapable of doing that particular job that is assigned to him according to his Varna, even in that scenario, he should continue to do it. Even if that person is capable of doing some other job much better, he could do a great job at something else, even in that category, that person should not go for that another job. He should be focusing on doing only that Varna's job. If the religious textbooks explicitly say you should not change your job, you should do only the job assigned to you as per your Varna, how could anybody change their occupation and thereby change their Varna? And how could they change their caste? And on top of it, add the other aspect as well. Everybody who's an offspring of intervarna marriages get a specific name, get a different name according to that specific mix. When everything is birth based and when it explicitly said that you should not change your job, how are people making this argument? Using this wrong statements and completely incorrect or false statements, people are trying to defend the caste system, and people are trying to whitewash all the horrors that was there in the society. Without accepting the horrors and true nature of caste system, one cannot understand, one cannot even begin to understand the Dravidian movement and why it was needed and how it started. And Sai Deepak does not want to talk about any of these things. He just wants to build the Hindutva narrative, and for Hindutva narrative, the credible opposition is from the Dravidian movement and the Dravidian ideology. Individuals could be wrong, like you can like a person, not like a person, the person may be good or bad. But the ideology by itself is something that is worthy against the Hindutva ideology. It is directly opposed to Hindutva ideology. And it is not something that can be laid down easily. It is not something that can be kept aside and shoved in the background. It will come to haunt them. So that is why the ideology itself is attacked. And that is why the movement itself is attacked. Because you can find faults in an individual, but if you are finding fault in a movement that was a mass movement started by the people against the oppressive society, oppressive caste structure, then there is something wrong with the point of view. And Sai Deepak goes on to tell that Tamils feeling they are unique and they are different is a missionary idea. Missionaries were the ones created this idea, and from the missionaries the Dravidian movement took it up and it propagated it to the people of Tamil Nadu or the Madras presidency back then, and that is why Tamils feel they are different. This is just a direct insult, because the beauty of India is everybody is different. Everybody is entitled to feel that they have a separate culture, they have a separate history, but we all have chosen to live together as Indians. That is the beauty of India. We have a lot of diversity, but yet we are united. But that is not their strong suit. They want uniformity. They want oneness in everything, like one country, one religion, one country, one culture, one country, one language. when a person talks in this way, when an ideology is presented in this way, and the spokesperson of that ideology would feel threatened by anybody saying that we are different. That's all there is to it. Like, I need not go into why Tamils feel different because we have a different culture. Our linguistic differences are there. Like, there are many linguistic evidences that suggest that Tamil culture or the Tamil language evolved completely differently. There is no point in talking about all the details about this, nitty-gritty things about this, when a person is completely prejudiced. But for the rest of us, here it is. A person who is following the Christian faith, he writes a comparative study of the grammar. He writes a comparative grammar of Dravidian or South Indian family of languages. He says that all the South Indian languages, they have something common. They have a lot of common elements in them, and it appears that all these South Indian languages that he called as Dravidian family of languages originated from a common ancestral language. From that, all these South Indian languages originated. So this was the statement made by Robert Caldwell. He belonged to a Christian faith. Instead of focusing on how that comparative grammar is wrong, how his paper or his book is wrong, and pointing out these are the reasons why it is wrong, Sai Deepak comes and tells you that he was a person following Christian faith and he was a person propagating the Christian faith. It is a conspiracy. That's all. No need to explain anything. No need to give any evidence. You just have to tell that person was a Christian. He was a pastor. He was this. He was that. He was not a Hindu. He was anti-Hindu. Missionaries have an agenda, and that is the agenda behind Tamils feeling different. Tamils saying that they are unique. Tamils feel like they have a different history. Like, they have their own unique history and culture. All this feeling is because of the missionaries. That's all. Done. Sadly, there are people who fall for it. Sadly, there are people who believe that, oh, missionaries are there. Missionaries are the reason why Tamils feel this way. Oh my God, we are in danger. These are the kind of people that believe this story, and there seems to be a lot of people out there who fall for this kind of narrative. That is why Sai has this much fan following. He also says that Tamil Nadu should join the Indian mainstream. How is Tamil Nadu not part of the Indian mainstream? Tamil Nadu is part and parcel of the Indian mainstream, just as anybody and everybody is, just as any state and every state is. By saying this, what does he mean? Does he mean that we are not as Indians as Sai is, or we are not as Indians as anybody else in the country is? How that should be taken? Just because we follow a different political ideology, people in Tamil Nadu elect a different political ideology. They are not following the Hindutva ideology. They reject Modi. They talk a lot passionately about their state rights and state language. They are very protective of their language, and they sure as hell hate a language being imposed on them. Just because Tamils do this, it does not mean that they are against the country or they are not part of the Indian mainstream. This is just pitting one part of the country against the rest of the country. He is just making Tamil Nadu look like a bad guy. Tamil Nadu look like a villain for the rest of India. Because it is always easy to sell the Hindutva ideology by showing somebody as the villain. And what else is a better example than Tamil Nadu, which outrightly rejects the Hindutva narrative? It is just used as an example for the rest of the country, and to sell their narrative in the rest of the country, this is used. Just look at the comments section of that podcast that he did. Everything is, oh my God, Tamil Nadu, how bad. I'm amazed by how bad the situation is in Tamil Nadu. I'm shocked by how bad the situation is in Tamil Nadu. Like, what is going on in Tamil Nadu? These are the shock and panic reactions that Sai Deepak expects, and he seems to be getting it every time. And he had successfully made Tamil Nadu look like the villain. And a lot of people feel, or they are outraged that Tamil Nadu is some kind of a demon place, and they feel like they are in danger. We are in danger. This is the mindset that Sai wants people to have, and this is the mindset that the Hindutva narrative wants people to have. I am in danger, I have to do something about it. What can I do? I have to choose the Hindutva narrative. I have to follow what everything Hindutva leaders say. I have to choose the Hindutva politics. That's all. If I do that, I'm safe. Everything will be okay. This is the reason why people like Sai come out and spread lies after lies after lies, and they say half truths to suit their narrative. They cherry pick incidents from history, they cherry pick statements from history to suit their narrative. Instead of going through a holistic view, okay, Dravidian movement started because there was a very worse form of caste oppression in Tamil Nadu or the Madras presidency back then, and people were sick and tired of that. Instead of giving a clear picture and a holistic view about why such a movement started, why the Dravidian movement started, he just wants to indulge in fear mongering. By fear mongering, anybody can be made to believe in absolutely anything, and that is what Sai seems to be doing. There are many more problematic things that Sai Deepak keeps on peddling everywhere, and we will continue to address them in our future videos. Thank you.